Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Welcome back into the nest at 1680's The Crow. My name is Braden Goodman, and here's what's happening in Burnaby, BC, Canada, and around the world. Let's dive in. Here are today's top stories shaping the world around us. The Associated Press's Lisa Dwyer reports that in a rare appearance before the UN, North Korea's Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs says the country will continue its nuclear weapons program.
A senior North Korean diplomat is reiterating that his country will not give up its nuclear weapons, despite numerous demands by the international community to do so. Speaking at the UN General Assembly meeting of world leaders, North Korea's Vice Foreign Minister Kim Sung-kyung characterized his country's nuclear weapons as crucial to keeping a balance of power with South Korea. Kim amplified his country's long-standing complaints about U.S.-led military exercises with South Korea and Japan, and complained about a growing threat of aggression from Washington and its allies. South Korea says the exercises are necessary to counter North Korea's growing nuclear and missile threats. Numerous UN Security Council resolutions have demanded that the North stop building nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
American President Donald Trump and Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke today about the latest U.S.-backed ceasefire plans for Gaza. It requires Hamas to disarm gradually and for Israeli defense forces to withdraw. The plan also calls for Hamas to release all hostages in 72 hours in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Here's Netanyahu at the news conference.
I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
Trump said Israel would have the, and quote, full backing of the United States to take steps to defeat Hamas if it does not accept the proposed peace deal. Palestinian government later responded by saying it welcomes Trump's plan to end the Israel-Hamas war and vows to make reforms demanded by the United States. In market news, Wall Street ticked higher as technology stocks recovered some of their losses from last week. The S&P 500 added 0.3% Monday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.1%, and the Nasdaq Composite climbed 0.5%. All three are near their all-time highs set a week ago. Modest gains for Amazon and other big tech stocks helped lift the markets. They offset losses for oil companies, which dropped as crude prices plummeted. This week's highlight for Wall Street is scheduled for Friday, when the latest monthly update on the job market is due. The hope is for modest numbers that kept the Federal Reserve on track to cut interest rates. We now go to John Kennedy of the Canadian Press for an in-depth look at Canadian market news.
Hitachi Energy says it'll invest $270 million into expanding its Quebec-based large power transformer manufacturing operations. The company says it wants to triple the annual production capacity at the site near Montreal, creating 500 new jobs. WestJet says a criminal third party managed to obtain passengers' personal information during a cyber attack in June. New Brunswick finished the 2024-25 fiscal year with a $104.4 million deficit, far off from the $40 million surplus projected earlier in the year. Looking to the markets, the S&P TSX Composite Index was up 210 points. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 68 points. The Canadian dollar traded 71.83 cents U.S. compared to 71.73 cents on Friday. The November crude oil contract was down $2.27 U.S., while the December gold contract was up $46.20 U.S. From the Canadian Press Business Desk, I'm John Kennedy.
Turning our attention to local news, Burnaby's Electronic Arts, better known as EA, is the video game company behind popular titles like Madden, NBA 2K, and Need for Speed. Now, a group of private investors have announced they're planning to take the company private in a leveraged buyout valued at $55 billion. Investopedia's Caleb Silver says going private is going to give EA more flexibility.
Being a public company comes with all kinds of hassles. You have to file quarterly reports, at least you do now. You have to answer to shareholders, you have to answer to the board of directors, and sometimes you don't have as much mobility and flexibility as you might like to have.
Continuing with local news, vessels traveling through the Johnstone Strait are putting local whales at risk of being hit and having their sonar systems disrupted. BCIT's very own Cohen Sassman has more on the story.
A 10-week research project has wrapped up in the Johnstone Strait, an area critical to orcas and humpbacks. CITES research found boat noises can cut orcas' communication in half, making it hard to navigate and hunt.
The main issue was vessel interactions, so that's noise pollution and physical collisions that the whales, predominantly orcas, have with the boats in that area.
Researchers say vessel strikes are a real concern, with many humpbacks believed to have been hit. Over the summer, the team spent time educating boaters, tracking whale behavior, and checking speeds. Their findings are now being used to help shape future rules to better protect marine mammals. Cohen Sassman, BCIT News.
Metro Vancouver is experiencing its first large September rain this year, to the dismay of many commuters. Our reporter Joe McHugh has more on the story.
Despite the name, atmospheric rivers are not rivers running through the sky. Though, as David Phillips, a climatologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada, explains, the name isn't far off either.
Atmospheric river, I think, is a very apt description, because when you look at some of the major rivers in the world, sometimes the water in these atmospheric systems, these plumes, you can actually see them originating in Hawaii and the tropics and making a beeline right for British Columbia.
Due to their point of origin in the tropics, the rain from atmospheric rivers is warmer than the typical precipitation in British Columbia. Now that's good news for road users in the winter months, but skiers and snowboarders might have a different opinion. Joe McHugh, BCIT News.
Well, don't forget your umbrellas, Vancouver. The Minova Archives and Museum will have a wide variety of activities at their Truth and Reconciliation event on Tuesday. As our reporter Braden Coombs explains, they're aiming to reach out to audiences of all ages.
The Minova Archives and Museum is planning on having multiple Indigenous speakers and programmers at their Truth and Reconciliation event. Along with many hands-on activities, they believe this is a way to engage adults and the younger generations. Jordan Dawson, one of Minova's Indigenous cultural programmers, says many Indigenous people will be there to provide their own stories, including herself.
They have her or myself to kind of come and talk to and ask questions and learn from too, which I think creates really meaningful dialogue for the guests of all ages.
Their event continues to grow each and every year. Dawson says she's expecting upwards of 1,000 visitors this year. Braden Coombs, BCIT News.
We now turn our attention to the world of sports. And here's what's going on at the bottom of the hour. An MRI confirmed that New York Giants receiver Malik Neighbors has a torn ACL in his right knee and is expected to miss the rest of the season, according to head coach Brian Daboll. Neighbors was carted off the field during the second quarter of the Giants' home game against the Los Angeles Chargers after his right knee buckled when he was trying to make a catch. Neighbors' departure put a damper on New York's first win as rookie quarterback Jackson Dart threw for a touchdown and ran for another in his first NFL start. Bad Bunny will headline the Super Bowl halftime show next year. The NFL, Apple Music, and Rock Nation announced Sunday that the Grammy winner will perform at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California on February 8th. This comes after his historic Puerto Rico residency this month, which drew over 500,000 fans. Bad Bunny is also leading all nominees at the Latin Grammys in November. With 3 Grammys and 12 Latin Grammys, he has become a global ambassador for Latin music. Last year, Kendrick Lamar had set a record with 133.5 million views for his halftime show. It's a day off in Major League Baseball before the wild card round starts tomorrow. Of note, for the Toronto Blue Jays is a series between the American League arch rivals, the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. The winner of that matchup will face Toronto in an American League Division Series. Manager Bob Melvin has been fired by the San Francisco Giants after the club missed the playoffs for a fourth straight season. The Giants finished 81-81 this season after a 4-0 victory over Colorado on the final day. They were 80-82 last season, Melvin's first with the team. The Pittsburgh Pirates have extended manager Don Kelly's contract after the team recovered from a miserable opening 6 weeks of the season. Pittsburgh was 12-26 when it fired Derek Shelton on May 8th. The Pirates went 59-65 under Kelly, including a 32-33 mark after the All-Star break. There are 2 Monday night games in the NFL as the Miami Dolphins get set to host the New York Jets, and the Denver Broncos will be welcoming in the Cincinnati Bengals. The Jets and Dolphins both enter the game at 0-3 and are struggling to stay afloat in an AFC East dominated by the Buffalo Bills. The Bengals are 2-1, but have struggled recently due to injured star quarterback Joe Burrow. The Broncos are 1-2 heading into tonight's contest. In other football news, a person familiar with the decision says New Orleans has been awarded the College Football National Championship game for the 2027 season. The person spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity Monday because a formal announcement involving Governor Jeff Landry is not scheduled until Wednesday. The game will be held in the Superdome on January 24th, 2028. You're up to date in the world of news and sports. I'm Brady Goodman, and thank you for listening.
For more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
I would recommend this program for anyone that isn't sure what kind of job they want in media, because you learn everything from like public relations to communications to video editing, like radio, TV. So you do get a lot of experience in all the different fields in media.